right, guys, welcome back to another Dumpster Talk episode. We are honored, very privileged to have Jennifer Sherman Betts with us. Jennifer is the founder of Magnar Metals, which is a business consulting service to help metal companies grow their audience, market, and business streams. And she's also done many other things in her illustrious career in the metals industry, like being a metal buyer, VP of business development, and the director of marketing for various metal companies. So yeah, we're just really happy to have Jennifer here. Jennifer, first of all, do you just kind of want to give some background about just who you are and kind of how you got started with your journey in the metals industry? And yeah, we can just take it from there.
Absolutely. I had zero knowledge about the metals industry, metal recycling industry before college. I actually met my first company, the David J. Joseph Company / Nucor Steel, at a career fair in college. And so that's how I got started with them. I worked for them for 7 years, and it was supposed to be a 6-month, I'll reassess. And it's been almost 2 decades later in the industry. It's been fantastic. I mean, where I was at your age, I had no idea about this incredible industry. So you guys are already like a few years ahead on this incredible industry.
That's
Truly.
when I seen the podcast you did, like Scrap Life with Brett Eckhart. So shout out to Brett.
Shout out, Brett.
So that's kind of the first thing I've seen of you, and I thought you had a lot of interesting things to say, but it did stick out to me, like what you just said. When you first started into the industry, you wanted to, like you said, see like take it till the first bonus and see how the first year goes, kind of, and it's just interesting to see I think you said you've been in the industry since 2007, right?
Yes, correct.
Wow. So you've been and I guess just like a lot of different roles. Like you've been, like you said, DJJ. Dan talks with us about DJJ a lot. They're like one of the bigger companies consolidating.
Yes.
And then I guess you've also like, we have a smaller family owned scrapyard. I guess you have some experience in that type of thing too, right?
I did. So after my work at Nucor, I went and worked for AK Steel, which was bought out by Cleveland Cliffs. I managed their raw materials program for their 5 melt shops at the time. So I was in charge of the scrap metal that went into their facilities, as well as some of the other metallics that needed to be purchased for the material. And then after that point, I worked with Becker Iron and Metal out of St. Louis, and it was a fantastic 4 years. Working for a family-run organization is really unique. I mean, you guys get it. You guys have an idea, you talk about it, and then you go do it. There isn't like 20 meetings. There's not a PowerPoint. There aren't 5 Excel spreadsheets that you have to put together. You take an idea and you run with it. It's a really unique opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. I think just being able to communicate with our bosses like one on one and just being able to share those ideas right away. It's like, I don't know, it just drives innovation, and they're really supportive of everything we do. And yeah, we're just glad that we can work with, like, I guess the higher ups, like just directly like we can right now. So yeah, that is very nice.
It's
That's awesome. I was gonna ask what your favorite part about working in the metal industry is.
I would honestly say being able to meet some really unique individuals and see the really interesting things they build, like the process behind it, from metal recycling facilities. You guys get to crush some stuff up, to seeing a continuous caster basically be a molten bucket of steel dropping from like 5 stories up into billets. And it's an incredible industry that affects our everyday lives. I mean, you're sitting in steel surrounded by UBCs. Like it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I saw recent TikTok you made about the Super Bowl arena too, being made out using a ton of metal. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Sure. So one of my biggest drivers for jumping onto TikTok and repurposing those videos onto other platforms, very similar to what you all are doing, is I want people to know, and not just inside our industry, because we already know, but I want people outside our industry to understand how metals affects our everyday lives, and that there are some really great career options within this industry. Metal is local and it is global. You will always have a job in this industry. Once you get experience, you can pretty much go wherever, and we just don't talk about it enough. And so, using the Super Bowl was my attempt at trying to get people aware of how much metals is in our everyday life. I mean, Rihanna last night, she was trusting the science behind those steel wires holding her up. It's incredible.
That was a. What do you think of the performance? Did you like it or not a fan? What do you think?
I really liked it. It was probably in my top 3 Super Bowl performances. I thought she did an incredible job, and also pregnant at like 10 stories up in the air and still gave an incredible halftime story or like performance. Like Superwoman right there.
For sure, for sure.
For sure. To go back to the point where you said the metals industry is a really like important industry, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on like at least from my experience in high school, teachers really didn't like teach about manufacturing or like the metal industry at all. Why do you think it is that way?
There's probably some cultural practices that are built into high schools and just our education system in general. In terms of middle school is there to support the high schools are there to support the colleges, and it's a business stream for a lot of those businesses, if you will. And so if you're not encouraging the high school students to go on to the colleges, then the support system may sometimes fall apart. There are technical schools that are out there. The fact that we've eliminated shop from a lot of high schools in this country, and yet we question why there's a shortage of technicians and mechanics and the folks willing to do blue collar jobs. A lot of the blue collar jobs pay more than the majority of entry level college degree required positions out there. And you missed 4 years of income by going to college. It's not always for the right person. There are other avenues in this world that you can make a really great living at, and it doesn't always involve college.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Going through high school, I can't speak for everyone, but I definitely thought that like it's like looked down upon if you don't choose to go to a college. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, we didn't have. Yeah, we didn't. That does. You make like a good point. We didn't really have wood shop or anything, so I guess like a lot of guys at our school that weren't used to working with their hands, they weren't really gonna. They probably weren't gonna start right out of high school. But also, I guess like I was gonna ask, you were saying like about this manufacturing and just like how you found DJJ through like a career fair or job fair, and you didn't really know much about it. Have you always kind of like I guess building big stuff and taking it down, or like has that always been something that interests you, or what did you think you were gonna do kind of right out of high school or college?
So I come from third generation engineers. My grandfather was a civil engineer. My father has a nuclear engineering degree. My brother is a mechanical engineer. So growing up, I was always around people that were building things, figuring out how they worked. You know, dinner discussions usually involved writing on napkins, on drawings, on how something got put together. And I honestly wanted to be an interior designer. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted, something a little bit more creative in that realm. But I was also really good with numbers. So I ultimately ended up deciding on a finance degree in college. Although the more that I learned about finance, because I do like figuring out how to make money and turn it into more money, was at the end of the day, I was going to probably wind up at an investment bank hating my life, right? Like 80, 90, 100 plus hours taking a train in and out of a major city probably was not going to be a great work life situation. And so when I was interviewing for companies, I originally used DJJ as a practice round for interviews.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was not going to be anything. And then the more and more that I learned about the company of, wait a second, you're going to give me a company car, you're going to give me a book of business, and you're going to tell me, go travel the country and make money. Okay. That sounds appealing. That sounds a lot better than sitting in a cubicle every single day. So that's ultimately how I ended up deciding, all right, I'll give it a go for 6 months and then I'll reassess.
Yeah. And would you say like you instantly fell in love with it, or maybe at first you were thinking, I don't know, about going into a different career path after it? What were your kind of initial impressions of it?
My initial impressions of it were very varied, I would say. So part of why like I've got a blazer on today is because obviously, I'm meeting with you all, but I also have a couple other meetings where I'm meeting with some folks in person that are C-suite levels. But I also have, the hard hat ready to go in the car almost at all times. And that is what I thought was the most interesting about our industry was I could be climbing a rail car in a scrapyard like during the day, knowing that I have dinner plans with the CEO of another company that night and having to like get dressed up. It was a very cool full range of opportunities in this industry.
For sure. And so you were a metal trader there, you said, at DJJ?
Yes. So when I worked, yes. So when I worked at DJJ, I actually started off on the non-fair side of the business for a few years. So I traded those aluminum cans, which, by the way, have you ever talked about the aroma that you probably are enjoying during these dumpster talks?
Yes. I don't know if you've seen the video, but we actually did a little TikTok of me actually jumping into the cans, and I was definitely getting some aromas there. So yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna ask you talk like how I said I listened to you and Brett's podcast, and I know he touched on this, but I just thought it would be interesting for like our viewers to hear your thoughts on it as well. Like when you came into the scrap industry, I know like a lot of people um, a lot of people might think like scrap like the scrap yard and being in junkyards and stuff. It's kind of like more of like a male industry. How do you think? What were like the
Mhm.
big? Have you had any challenges, kind of in that realm, or like did you have any like hesitancy when you first started the job to jump into the industry?
I would probably say I was a little naive when I first entered the industry, not really recognizing that it was as male dominated as it is. It has gotten better in the past couple decades.
It's
What
just I feel like it's just something that people just think right when they hear about scrap yards. But I know just in my short time working in the industry, I've met a lot of women that do a lot of big stuff in the industry. So it's probably moving away towards that. But I just thought it was interesting.
it definitely is what people think of as a true male dominated industry. I mean, like, you think of
Yeah.
construction, you think of building, that's typically male dominated, but there are a lot of
Yeah.
benefits to having a diverse workforce. And McKinsey and company actually did a great study on this. I think they do it every few years, but companies that have a diverse C-suite management team on average, I forget the exact stat, but it's something like 35% more likely to be profitable or have a greater financial return. And that's something that I'm working on. I actually have a friend that's outside the industry that I'm bringing to St. Louis this week because I want to encourage more women to think about the metals industry as a very viable career option. There are a variety of career paths that you can choose from working in the yard, steel mills, but you can also be working in your home office. You can do brokerage consulting. There's a lot of areas that women can get involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that on your LinkedIn. You're like a member of the. I think it's called Chief. Does that specifically work with just the metals industry or just all industries in general?
No, so the Chief organization is it's a network of executive women leaders across any industry. And it's been a
Okay.
really wonderful experience for me because of what you've talked about. There aren't a lot of women in the industry, and I do know quite a few, and they're great mentors and mentees with me. And having the membership in Chief is great to meet other women and see that the issues that we have in our industry or the wins that we have in our industry are also across other different career tracks. And it's a really cool, unique networking opportunity to really support other women in other roles.
For sure. For sure.
So speaking about networking, like we work at like a small scrapyard. So when we first started, we didn't really think about making connections and putting ourselves out there as much. But then as we got into it more, we started making more connections, going to events. How important is it to you? Are those relationships? I know you say you have like mentors and friends outside of the industry. Was it easy for you to go out of your way and make these connections, or is that something you had to step out of your comfort zone and go and do?
I'm naturally someone that can more or less walk into a room without knowing anyone and not have a problem having a conversation with someone. It's taken some years for sure to perfect the ability to talk to someone you have no idea anything about them. But networking is huge, huge. What you all are doing in terms of putting yourself out there on social media, you're essentially casting a huge net to increase your network that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise if you stayed in the yard and only went to conferences. Conferences are great, but using online tools like what you've been doing are really going to help your individual careers as well as your business out long term.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most important things for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen you on TikTok lately. I've been seeing your videos. Um,
Yes.
Something we've been trying to do as well. It's just I don't know what got you into TikTok and stuff like that.
So at the start of the pandemic, I realized I wasn't going to be able to get in front of people in person. And that's a really big, strong section of what I do is getting to know people and building relationships. So I made a concerted effort to build my online presence, specifically on LinkedIn, to help keep
Yeah.
continuing to grow that network. And then when I started looking around and realizing that as I'm approaching 40 and still considered one of the younger folks in our industry, that I realized I needed to probably switch up my messaging and locations of where those messages go. And younger individuals are on other platforms like TikTok, right? And actually, I think that's how I found out about you all is finding
Yeah.
you on TikTok instead of LinkedIn. I think that's a pretty incredible story that I found you for
It's
business
pretty crazy.
on what people consider a silly app.
For sure. It's definitely connecting a lot more of us than we would even realize. I don't know. Have you found like that you've been, I don't know how do you feel about like TikTok in general? Do you feel like it's been easy to make the content on there, or like um, I know I seen like some of your videos have had a lot of success. Like how do you go about, I don't know, just coming up with ideas for the videos and stuff, and um, yeah, kind of talk about that if you could.
So the majority of the content that I do is really sparked from conversations that I've had in the past or comments on some of my LinkedIn posts, to be honest. Um, there have been a few times that I've used ChatGPT to come up with
Yeah,
ideas for content because after a while, sometimes you're just not feeling that creative and you need a little help. And so that's where some of those come into play, where you can use outside tools like AI to help generate and keep creating your content if you're running out on topics to talk about. Fortunately for us in our industry, we have so many grades, so many different types of metals. The prices are constantly moving. I feel like you probably don't have an issue on your side running out of things to talk about.
for
I also
sure.
have ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always definitely different articles coming out and different like, things happening in the world, and I for sure use ChatGPT too. Uh, Basically, what it does for people that don't know, what I use it for at work, like generally these longer articles that sometimes you don't feel like reading, you can just basically copy and paste that article, and it will give you like a paragraph summary of the whole thing, and it's actually, I don't know, it's really helpful to use. Yeah, it takes out a lot of that kind of, it does take out the creative process and thinking of stuff, but I don't know, overall it just improves like the time that it takes to actually make the video and stuff. So I've definitely been using it a lot, but yeah, I think it's a great tool to use, and yeah, I've been enjoying using it and making content with it for sure.
To go back to LinkedIn, I've definitely been trying to grow my presence on LinkedIn. I have a hard time. Well, when I first started, I had a hard time like finding something here at the yard to post about. So I actually started like posting stuff outside of work too. I found that that kind of helps like build connections as well because it kind of takes you out of like the work element and shows like what you're like in like real life too.
Oh, absolutely. Creating a essentially a persona online is what you're doing. And LinkedIn is very much work focused, but putting in those personal aspects of your life makes you more like a human being. and, and we are a lot more alike than we are different in this world. And so putting that personal touch on LinkedIn should absolutely get you additional connections, a larger network, because more people are going through what you're going through. It's just we tend to only want to put the pretty and fun things on social media instead of the full picture of what's happening in our lives.
Yep, and I also noticed that like there's like such a wide range of people on like TikTok's mostly like younger people I would say, but LinkedIn like I've met people at events that like I would never guess that they would have a LinkedIn, but it makes it a lot easier for when you actually meet them in person.
Oh, 100%. And people are switching jobs more often these days. And so instead of meeting someone in person and they've worked 30 years at one company, LinkedIn is really great because then you can go back and see their incredible history of the different jobs and companies that they've worked for. It gives you a better perspective of the knowledge that person holds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also kind of gives you like a sense of hope too, because like someone could have like such various different careers or different jobs that they had in the past. So that could definitely help, at least for me, because I never really knew what I wanted to do. So seeing that these people can like change, like they could be 40 years old and even go back to school to do something else, it makes me at least feel better.
Oh, absolutely. Which, by the way, I have been in that situation where I have questioned what I am doing for work. Where is it what I want to do? Do I want to do this for the next 20 years? And you're never too old, too young to switch careers. Like you get one shot at this life. Do what makes you happy. go after it. If you want to be whatever it is, go find someone that's doing it, hit them up on LinkedIn, make the connection, just talk to them and put yourself in a position where you're at least close to someone that does what you would want to do. And just by getting to know that individual, you're going to find out those steps that you need to take to get to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. For
That's
sure.
good. That's good advice.
Yeah. Was that kind of your thought process going back to DJJ when you were a metal trader? Was that kind of your thought process? Like maybe it was something that you didn't really think you would do for the rest of your life, and that's why you kind of transitioned to the more of the marketing consulting sort of side of the business. Was that kind of what you were thinking?
Yes. So when I worked at DJJ for a few years, I was on the non-ferrous side. And then for about 4 or 5 years, I was on the ferrous side of the business. And I met some incredible folks and it was really interesting. But at the end of the day, did I want to trade scrap metal every single month? Like the middle of the month was a wonderful work life situation, right? You go out, you network with people, you're not really worried about, am I going to make the right deal or not? But let me tell you, the first week of the month for any Ferris trader is filled with anxiety. It's stressful. That's your one chance to make money that month. You have a whole month, 30 days, and you basically get 2 days to make your money for the month. It's incredibly stressful. And I was looking at it from a long-term position. Do I want to do this when I'm 45? Do I want that anxiety? Am I going to have an ulcer by the time
Yeah.
I'm 50? What else can I do that uses this knowledge, but in a different way? And so that's when I started looking at other opportunities, like working with Becker Iron and Metal, like having my own company now, like working at Argus Media, helping them grow their metals division. There's other career paths that you can use the skills that you learned in one job and take them to the next.
For sure. And so that from those experiences with the marketing consulting, that's how you kind of decided to start your own business. Then you felt that you could do it kind of yourself.
Yes. So I really enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy connecting. I love learning about people's backgrounds, what they're capable of, what they're working on, how they're growing their business. It's fascinating to me. And so when it was time to start Magnar Metals again, it was essentially, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing? At this point in my life, I have a family. I'm probably going to work another, hopefully no more than 15, but probably 20 years, right? What do I want to do? Like, what do I want to do that's going to be enjoyable? And so that's how the concept of Magnar Metals came about in terms of how can I use my connections, my network to grow other people's businesses? How can I make introductions to people? How can I set up and encourage the next generation to come and join our industry? And that's ultimately what I decided to do was I enjoy this aspect of all the other jobs that I've had. Why not make a living out of it?
Yeah, I think you've had definitely an interesting path. There's a lot to learn from it. You kind of just answered it in the last question a little bit, but I was gonna ask kind of like from now that you started your new company, I wondered kind of like and also out of COVID, I wanted to know kind of how COVID affected like your work life and if you have a family at all. You kind of just mentioned that you did, so kind of
Mhm.
what's your plans moving forward with the company and kind of how do you think your family fits into it?
Absolutely. So when COVID started, I had already been working from home for a few years. And let me tell you, it was the best kept secret. Working from home when nobody else was at home, great. It was fantastic, right? I had one young child at the time, and then I ended up having two children. And so it was very easy for me as a work from home employee at the time, before it was a common practice, to go and drop them off at daycare or school and then come back and get on a phone call, do emails. Zoom really wasn't a thing then. So like I could go work out at lunch, be sweaty, and nobody would know the difference. It was a fantastic situation. Um, then COVID happened, and then everybody was home. And that made working from home more challenging for sure. Uh, Ultimately, my husband ended up actually working from home a lot from that point on. He still does actually to this day, but we've set it up to where we're a really great team. Our children are now 8 and 5, and they go to school in our neighborhood. We've got a really great support system that we've established around here. We don't live that close to family, and so friends have become our family in this area. And working with family in the same household, we've had to make some select decisions about where our offices are. My husband is a loud talker and he talks a lot for his job as well. So we've had to both find rooms with doors that are on opposite sides of the house to make sure that that doesn't affect our work.
Cool. It's definitely like a challenging time.
For
You have
sure.
to learn how to maneuver.
To go back to
Yes.
you creating
But
your own business, what would you say was like the hardest part initially on like starting your own business? Would you say?
honestly, the hardest part, and I think this goes for anyone, is giving up that fear and just doing it. That's honestly the biggest challenge I think most people have. You have ideas probably your whole life. Wouldn't it be great if this product existed or this service existed or this business existed? And it's scary to leave the comfort of that salary or hourly position, right? Because you don't know where the next paycheck is necessarily going to come from for a while, right? But you just have to believe in yourself enough to know that what you're doing is the right choice, that this is going to work out, and that it's just going to take a little bit of time, and that businesses were not started overnight, and that they build slowly. And getting over that fear factor is honestly probably the hardest part of it all, because you can figure out the legalities, setting up the LLC, the accounting, the website. Like there are services for that. There's Google, there's Chat GPT to tell you how to do these things now. It's the fear factor that most people can't get over.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Something I've been finding that I'm 20 right now, so I'm still pretty young. But I noticed that like if you want stuff to actually happen, you have to go out and do it. Like you could have a great business idea, but no one's gonna like come to you and say, "Oh, you have a good idea. Let's do it for you." You kind of have to do it yourself. So that's cool. Thank you.
And do you think did you ever have these kind of thoughts to start your own business back when like like your 20s, like how we are? Do you think it's better to start younger, just to go for something now, or would you recommend waiting and getting some experience under our belts?
You're going to get experience day one you start a business, right? It doesn't matter if you're 20, it doesn't matter if you're 50. And honestly, I think the biggest regret most entrepreneurs have is waiting to start. I mean,
For
so
sure.
it may not align with what the market conditions are doing, but you're never going to time the market right. Like if we could all time the market right, we'd be on an island. We would have won all those bets against the Super Bowl. We would have won the lottery, right? So just do it. I mean, that's why Nike's slogan is just do it, because their founders basically did that. They gave up the fear factor and they just did it and went for it. So I think you should absolutely, if you've got an idea, I think you'd be surprised the support you would find out there for from folks to help fellow entrepreneurs. My one of my majors in college was actually entrepreneurship. So it's always been something that I've had in the back of my mind, that I've wanted to have my own business. And it's taken me a few more years to give up that fear factor to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's just the big thing with everyone. Just I don't know, not just starting with your own company, but with anything in life. Like I don't know, something that we've been trying to get on recently is going to the gym every day, and there's just something about that too. It's like
You just
just the
gotta go
mental
get it.
block. Yeah,
Gotta go
but
after it.
yeah, once you just have that thought that you're just gonna go after it and do it, it gets to become a lot easier. So yeah.
Do you have any information or not any information, any kind of advice for us on like on starting a family, kind of starting a family or any career advice? Just as to us, we're all 20 and 21 years old. So
There's never a perfect time to start a family. Like if you try and time it with your career, you're going to get a curveball of a promotion or an opportunity over here. There's never going to be the perfect time to start a family. I mean, find somebody that's going to be a great partner for you in life. That's going to be a really great, parent to the children as well. And it's going to be a ride. It's not always going to be great. Family, marriage, all of that is hard sometimes, but it's a really wonderful experience to see your family grow. And it honestly motivates you more in the work situation because you're realizing you're supporting life financially through what you do, and you want to provide really cool experiences for them, and you want to be able to take them places and give them just a really great childhood, and you want to be able to set them up well in the future. And so it comes back to motivating you in the workforce. I bet there are a lot of folks that that have families that are probably some of the hardest working individuals that and it's probably stemming from that place of love for their family.
yeah,
Sure. It's definitely something that we don't know yet, like having kids and stuff, how much drive that like bring to us. But in the future, that's something I guess we'll definitely figure out. Um, did I know you've been around to like many different parts of the country and stuff. Was California kind of the original destination where you thought like growing up, or like do you think that was the place that you were going to have your family, or did you kind of not know where you wanted to be around the United States?
So my husband and I have an agreement that essentially any opportunity that comes our way career wise for either of us, we'll always take a serious look at it. My husband and I actually met in Seattle. That's where we lived for about 5 or 6 years. And we love the West Coast. It's a really cool part of the country, especially the Pacific Northwest. I mean, the mountains, the snow, the ocean. It's just a really cool, beautiful part of the country, but it's also really expensive. And when we were living there, we were looking down the road, we didn't have kids, and we quickly realized if we stayed in our current roles work-wise, we were never going to be able to have the trajectory to be able to afford the lifestyle that we wanted, right? We wanted to be a little bit more comfortable. And so we realized very soon that we were going to have to leave that state and that area. I also had a non-compete to get outside of. So we ended up actually moving to Texas for work for my husband. I was pregnant at the time, had a non compete. I had our first child in Texas, unemployed, basically. So again, it's never a great time. It's never going to be the perfect time to start a family. But then we ultimately both got opportunities. I got an opportunity at AK Steel in Cincinnati. Same for my husband. He worked for GE Aviation at the time. And we moved again because, again, it was a great career choice. And Cincinnati was really wonderful for us. My husband and I both ended up switching jobs from the original companies that brought us there, and we kept making those necessary job changes that got us to a point where I've been working remote since 2016, and he got a job opportunity with a biomedical company out here in Thousand Oaks, California, that was willing to move us back to the West Coast. And California was not on our radar. We never thought we were going to live here. And we have found essentially a suburban utopia outside of LA, It's sunny. I'm looking at palm trees. Our children have a school in our neighborhood that they can walk to. It's incredible. We've biked 8 miles to the ocean from our house. Like, this
That's crazy.
could never have been foreseen in our future at all. But we knew back in Seattle that we would have to make changes that were going to be uncomfortable, and that we didn't know what the end outcome was going to be, but we knew that it was going to get us to a place that we knew we wanted one day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know for sure we are jealous. Is the weather nice over there today? Here it's been
Good
very
weather.
cold. I don't know. It's been okay, but
50s and 60s.
I know we're all very jealous of the weather over there for sure.
I don't really want to share what the temperature is here today for you guys, but it's been a wonderful 60s and 70s, sunny for the past few weeks, and that's our winter. That's about it. I mean, occasionally it might get into the 30s or 40s at night. We do live in a desert, but for the most part, my wardrobe doesn't change each day. I don't even look at the weather forecast really anymore because I know that it's just going to be comfortable outside.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today. I don't know. Do you guys have any other questions that you had for
I don't
Jennifer?
know. I think we hit. Do you have any questions for us or any last advice?
Well, I'm kind of curious, what your plans are and how you got into this. I think this is very unique in terms of your age, your drive, the fact that you're looking at creative media outlets for this. I'm just kind of curious to learn a little bit more about you all and where you want to take this.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess as far as like the podcast, I don't really. Basically, Dan kind of started it with us like probably over a year ago, and
Mhm.
I know for me personally, like I wasn't really too into the social media, or I didn't really like to be on video and stuff. But it's definitely one thing it's done. If nothing else, it's like it definitely helped us all with our confidence and just being on video, getting our name out there. But I don't know. Pretty much, we've all known each other for a while. Like Carrie, I've been in school with since kindergarten, and then Isaiah and Todd, I've known since like 7th grade, and Gail, I'm just getting to know probably like past 2 years. But we're all pretty much friends, and we come to work every day at the same place too. So it's kind of it's a unique thing,
Mhm.
and
That's pretty
we're learning
special.
it definitely is. There's some challenges that come with it, but it's good to be like you said, like have Dan and Mike, who are the owners of the company. They're really like let us do whatever we want to do, really, to grow, and we also get to be with each other every day for work. So there's some challenges that come with it, but it's all in all a good thing, for sure. But pretty
Which
much, I
I
don't
would
know what.
say on
Go
well,
ahead.
real quick on the Dan and Mike comment. I hope you don't take that for granted, because having owners and bosses that give you that support, that give you that creative freedom, is not always a commonplace in your career. And that's huge. Like, finding a good boss that supports your growth and tries to help you go to the next level, that's going to take you really far in life.
Yeah, that's definitely what I don't know. I would say like for me, I definitely know, like I think about it every day. Really, like there's nowhere else that we could work really that's like this exactly. There's some hard days with it, but it's all in all like a really good thing. We're blessed to have it. I know for myself, I don't know if this is what I want to like do every single day for the rest of my life, but right now it's just like kind of just looking at it as the beginning of my career, and like trying to get every good lesson I can out of it, like learning, meeting connections, and just yeah, every there's a bunch of different lessons I learn every day. So that's kind of what I'm here for, I would say.
Yeah, I also think it's cool because, like how we said, we're all a friend group. We were all friends like before we started working here. Like not Michael. Alex is Michael and Dan's cousin, so like he kind of started to get us all in here. So I love that like we could be doing like the worst job ever, but we're working next to our best friends, so it can't be too bad.
For sure. I think, yeah, we're definitely all kind of still trying to figure out life and just see where it goes. I for sure don't know what exactly I want to do for the rest of my life. Right now, I'm going to college and working. So, yeah, and I'm a finance major as well. I do finance and marketing. So, yeah, I definitely, what you were saying kind of resonated with me about, I don't know, not just wanting to sit behind a desk all day and have some investment banking job. I think this industry could definitely be one thing that I would look at to go into after college. And yeah, I think you're just a great example of what could happen. Even not following like your major or whatever. You're like, I don't know. There's definitely so many different paths out there for people to go down that you don't have to kind of follow like whatever major you pick. You don't have to follow that certain thing.
Keep your
It's
mind
kind of
open.
broad. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, 100%. College degrees open doors, but you're going to learn way more on the job. Just like what you're realizing right now. You learn way more on the job than what any school can teach you.
For sure. Yeah. I think I definitely agree with that.
But yeah, Jennifer, does anyone else have any questions for her, or
I think we hit it all.
wrap it up?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was
Yeah.
really great getting to talk to you.
Hey, yeah, likewise. Thank you so much. And I really enjoy watching you guys. I love the TikToks. I think it's fantastic that you're doing the podcast and growing your network on LinkedIn. Keep it up. I mean, you're making waves, and I think it's fantastic to see the next generation get excited about this industry. It's like invigorating for those of us that have been in it for a while, might be a little jaded in some areas. And so it's nice to see that passion still out there.
Yeah, and we love all the stuff we see from you too, and yeah, we're excited just to grow together and see
stay
where
connected.
this all takes us.
Yep.
For sure.
Fantastic. Well, stay warm. Hopefully it still stays in the 60s today out there.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll
All right.
survive.
Have
Well,
a good one.
thank you,
Thank
Jennifer.
you.
Have a
Thanks,
good
Thank you
one.
very
Jennifer.
much.
Appreciate it, guys. It was really wonderful talking to you all.